did it.
Perfect. Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Chris Parker. This is Kristen Ishihara with the Ishihara and Parker Law Firm here in Longview, Texas. And today we're going to talk about a topic that we see often, people come in to talk about and or have messed up. And we're talking about transfer on death, payable on death, and beneficiary designations. Kristen, what are these?
Yeah, so they're essentially different names at different places for the same thing, so we don't want you to be confused. POD is usually how a bank would refer to what we would just generically call a beneficiary, right? So if you have a checking account, savings account, and they say it's a POD account, that means it's payable upon death to somebody. A TOD, transfer upon death, same idea. Often is at your financial advisor. So maybe on your Edward Jones account, it says Jane Doe TOD account. That means that your account is a single account and is designated to go to somebody at your death. We kind of generically refer to that as a beneficiary. And on something like a retirement account, they may ask you to do a beneficiary. Life insurance usually uses the term designate a beneficiary, but they're really kind of all the same thing.
And when you have them, oftentimes they'll let you name one or more people, and then if those people are deceased before you, you can even name backups at many places.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, well, I was going to say, so we know what they are, at least we know where they're at. When do we want to use them?
So almost all the time you want to use them, not all the time. This should be part of a comprehensive plan that you have with your estate planning attorney. But in a kind of generic situation, I'm married, I have 2 kids, they're adults, they're doing well. I want my beneficiaries to be my spouse primary 100%, and I want my adult kids to be my contingent 50-50. Easy situation. What are some times when we would not want to list a beneficiary?
Yep, absolutely. So when we look at the easy, straightforward situation, that works for some people most of the time, but sometimes it never works. So if we have minors, right, we're not going to name a minor as a transfer on death beneficiary or payable on death beneficiary. That'd be a bad idea.
Correct.
We're not going to do it if we have a disabled individual who's inheriting. That would be a problem. We'd need to do more planning. So no minors, no disabled. We're certainly going to make sure we update these forms, right? I have people who have named ex-spouses, ex-important people in their lives who are no longer important. So I guess the times I don't use them is when my life has changed and I've moved on to new people. When I have disability in the family I need to worry about. When I have minors involved in the family. What else, Kristen, do we need to worry about?
Yeah, I mean, really, I would say once a year you should make sure that you know who your beneficiaries are, and that's stored away with your estate planning important documents. Because a lot of times what happens is maybe you bought life insurance from someone that was coming door to door 50 years ago. Whoever you listed 50 years ago is probably not the right person now. Maybe you started your job 20 years ago, and when you filled out that HR paperwork, you weren't married yet, so you put your mom or your sister. That all needs to change. So I really think once a year is a good idea. I mean, it happens every day, all day, that when people come in and Chris and I are making a list of assets with clients, I say, who are the beneficiaries? And they say, we don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And here's the other thing, too. Honestly, sometimes when you submit these forms, you know you sent them in. You remember sending it in, but the financial institution simply didn't receive it or didn't update it. I've seen folks who have email chains where they're discussing making the changes, and I sent this off, but that company never received it. And it's not like they send you a letter saying, hey, we've now updated it. That doesn't always happen. So you may think you changed it. I would just call and confirm. Feels a lot better when they actually say, oh yeah, here it is. We checked. We already have it written in stone.
Right. Because let's talk about what happens if you don't have a beneficiary listed. What happens to the life insurance, the IRA, the whatever it is, if it has no beneficiary listed, or a failure of a beneficiary? I listed my mom, but she's deceased before me. What happens?
So the first thing is the process is going to slow down, right? The institution's going to want to know proof of who you named either is deceased or there is no beneficiary, in which case it's now going to be tied up in your estate, which means that hopefully you have a will, right? Because we're looking at a situation where the contract terms can't control. So now we're going to send it back to you. Did you take care of business by doing a will, which would then allow your family to handle the assets pursuant to whatever written wishes you have? Or did you fail to have even a will, in which case Texas law would take over and you're looking at even more delays and time down the road?
Right. So super important, no matter who you are, that you have a will. And even if you've set up all your beneficiaries and you say, I don't need a will because I have all these things set up, you still need a will. Yep. Every adult needs one. I'll give you an example of why. I had a younger adult who had his mother listed as a beneficiary, passed away before her, had her listed as the beneficiary, so she is to receive 50% of some of his accounts. She passed away 30 days later. Well, since she survived him, her estate gets those assets. So she didn't own anything that would require a probate, but somebody listed her as a beneficiary, so now her estate owns something, but she didn't have a will. So you have to, even if you think that all of your estate plan is in order, it is super important that you still have a will just in case.
That's right.
Just in case.
And one of the common, I don't want to say it's a mistake, one of the common misconceptions or confusions I see is someone has a will that says I leave everything to Terry, right? But then their Bank of America account leaves everything to Michael, and they don't even think about it, and they think, oh, Terry's going to get everything. Understand that transfer on death, that transfer on death, that payable on death designation, that beneficiary, that's going to bypass your will. It will control over your will. Your will captures what is left or what doesn't walk on its own. Sometimes I've had many families do that with intent. I've got 2 or 3 kids, maybe 1 or 2 of them received extra money, so I'm going to try to equalize. I don't really want to put it in the will. It's not really the other kid's business. So my wife and I have opened up an account. We're going to leave that just to that one child, that one small singular account. It equalizes it, and the will leaves everything 50-50. I've had people with intent do that, right? I don't want you to do it by mistake. I don't want it to be an accident. I want you with intent to say, okay, I am purposely leaving this out of my estate. It's purposely going to that person, and then everything else is being split, if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Just be careful with it, because whatever you list will trump your will. And so I've had people come in, emergency situation, I need to get a will done. Sure, we'll get it done. What do you own? Oh, I have a bank account, and that's where my life savings is. But the life savings beneficiary isn't the person I wanted to go to, right? I did the will, but I forgot to go do the beneficiary at the bank.
That's the most important point of this entire video. The beneficiary, the TOD, the POD, the beneficiary controls, period.
Yep.
Whatever that institution is will pay to who you have listed, whether you did it 50 years ago, 20 years ago, doesn't matter. They will pay to who you have the beneficiary listed. Your will does not control it. So when we think about having a comprehensive plan, listing your Bank of America account to go to this person in your will doesn't matter if that account is not set up to go to that person. So it has to work together. You do need a will, but when you set these things up, it's critical that you are doing it with intent, that you know who you're designating, that is who you need it to go to, and that all of those things work together. But a beneficiary will control, so that is super important, and it's so easy to change. You can often do it online. You can certainly do it by walking into a bank. You can probably do it by contacting them and getting them to send you the forms. So it takes very little time. It costs you nothing. This is not a lawyer situation. This is just you taking the time to go do it and do it correctly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the message today is check your beneficiaries. Every financial account you have has a beneficiary listed, or probably should. So bank account, life insurance, retirement account, investment account, all of those things likely should, again, subject to a couple of exceptions, should have somebody listed, and you want to make sure that it is the right people listed.
Yeah, and I've seen a bunch of folks who don't understand that account is only theirs. It's only in mom's name, right? And so she puts the beneficiaries as being the children, bypassing her husband. Not on purpose, but by mistake. She just thought it would go to her husband. Yeah. I said, no, that's your account, and you put down the kids. Did you mean to bypass your husband? Oh, no, I didn't mean to do that. So just think it through, right? Make sure you're going in the proper order to the right people at the right time.
Yep. Yeah, but that's it.
Yep. Thanks, y'all.
Check them. Super easy to do. Get it done today. Do it every year. Make sure you have that tucked away somewhere. You've confirmed that they're updated and are going to who you need them to go to.
Yeah, and frankly, you should have a list of where people need to go, because, I mean, Eastside Professional Credit Union doesn't have a list of your family members, and they may not know exactly when you pass away if nobody tells them, and they have that money sitting there supposed to go to someone who really needs it, and there's going to be a lag or delay until that's sorted out, unless you put the right people on the right track.
Yep. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next time.